Welcome back. That small Lincoln 1-cent coin in your pocket might be worth way more than you think. That Jefferson nickel you just got in change might be worth a lot more than 5 cents. 1980 for D. Lincoln 1-cent coin, condition good. This coin was produced at the Denver Mint, which is indicated by the small letter D beneath the date on the obverse side. The 1980 for Lincoln cent is part of the Lincoln Memorial Reverse series, which ran from 1959 to 2008, replacing the earlier wheat reverse design. It features the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse design by Victor David Brenner. This portrait has been used on the penny since 1909 and shows Lincoln facing right, with a calm and thoughtful expression. The obverse also includes the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" at the top, "Liberty" to the left of the portrait, and the year 1984, with the D mint mark on the right side. The reverse of the 1980 for Lincoln cent was designed by Frank Gasparo and features the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This reverse design includes clearly defined columns and a faint outline of the seated Lincoln statue between the central columns, which adds a level of detail to the coin. Above the memorial are the words "United States of America" with the motto "E pluribus unum" centered between them. The denomination 1 cent appears along the bottom in bold lettering. The reverse is symbolic not only of Lincoln's contributions to the country but also of his lasting legacy as a leader who preserved the Union during one of the most difficult periods in American history. The composition of the 1980 for Lincoln cent was part of a newer copper-coated zinc formula that began in 1982. These coins are made of 97.5% zinc, with a thin copper plating making up the remaining 2.5%. This change was implemented to reduce the cost of coin production. As a result, the 1980 for penny weighs 2.5 grams, which is lighter than the earlier bronze cents that weighed 3.11 grams. It also has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, which is consistent with previous issues. In good condition, the coin shows moderate circulation where the high points of Lincoln's hair, forehead, and jaw may appear smooth and less defined from years of handling. The reverse side, including the columns and steps of the memorial, may also lack sharpness and show areas of flatness. However, the major features of the design remain visible, and the date, mint mark, and inscriptions are all readable. This level of preservation is typical for coins that have been in use for several decades. The 1980 for D. Lincoln cent had a very high mintage, with more than 6 billion coins struck at the Denver Mint alone. This makes it one of the more common Lincoln Memorial cents in circulation. Because of this high availability, most examples in good or even very fine condition hold only face value. However, there are rare exceptions, especially when it comes to mint errors or coins in exceptional condition. One of the most notable and sought-after errors from this year is the doubled ear variety on the obverse side. This type of error shows clear doubling on Lincoln's earlobe and is a well-documented and popular variety among collectors. If an example of the 1980 for D cent with this doubled ear error is discovered even in circulated condition, it can be worth significantly more than face value and may range in the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity of the doubling and the overall condition of the coin. For coins in uncirculated condition with a strong strike and full red color, the value can also increase dramatically. High-grade coins that receive a professional grade, such as MS67 red or higher, may sell for values between $500,000 and $700,000 in the high-end collector market if the coin is a top population example or if it has exceptional visual appeal. Such coins are often submitted to major grading companies for certification and encapsulation to preserve their condition and prove authenticity. It is important for collectors to avoid cleaning coins even if they appear dirty or discolored. Cleaning can result in scratches and altered surfaces, which lower a coin's value and can be easily detected by professional graders. Coins should be stored in acid-free holders or albums and handled by the edges to protect the surfaces from oils and moisture. Proper storage helps maintain both the condition and long-term value of the coin. In conclusion, the 1980 for D Lincoln 1-cent coin in good condition is a common example of modern United States coinage. While the vast majority hold little more than face value, their historical context and design features make them interesting for collectors and students of American currency. With the potential for rare errors and the possibility of discovering high-grade uncirculated examples, this coin continues to draw attention from those interested in the world of numismatics. 1980 for P Jefferson nickel coin, condition circulated and some scratches. This nickel is part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series, which began in 1938 and features the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse. The coin from the year 1980 was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is denoted by the letter P mint mark appearing on the right side of the coin, just beside Jefferson's ponytail. At this point in the series, the design still followed the original concept created by Felix Schlag, who won a design competition to commemorate Jefferson's legacy. The obverse side of the 1980 for Jefferson nickel features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson with a serious and composed expression. The inscriptions on this side of the coin include the word Liberty positioned to the left of Jefferson's profile, the national motto "In God We Trust" placed in front of his face, and the date 1980 for just beneath the P mint mark. In circulated condition, signs of wear are typically present on high areas, such as Jefferson's cheekbone hair and jawline. The scratches mentioned may appear across his face or in the field surrounding the portrait, reducing the coin's overall eye appeal, though the major details remain identifiable. The reverse of the coin displays an image of Jefferson's famous home Monticello, which remains a key symbol in this series. The building is shown from the front, with its domed structure centered on the coin. Above Monticello appears the Latin motto E pluribus unum, while beneath the image is the word Monticello, followed by the denomination 5 cents, and finally the words United States of America at the bottom. On circulated examples with surface scratches, the intricate design of the columns and steps may be slightly worn or partially obscured. Adwear and contact marks may also be visible near the rim or across the open fields of the coin. The composition of this coin is 75% copper and 25% nickel, which gives it a silver gray color. The coin was intended for heavy use in commerce, so the metal alloy is chosen for its durability. However, in circulated condition, especially with noticeable scratches, the coin often loses much of its original shine. Instead, it develops a dull or muted appearance and may have spots of dark toning or light discoloration, depending on how it was stored or handled over time. The Philadelphia Mint produced a large number of Jefferson nickels in 1980 with total mintage figures exceeding 850 million pieces. Due to this high mintage, the coin is considered common and is widely available even today in various grades. In circulated condition, it holds little to no premium over face value unless it contains a notable error or is part of a certified set. Still, it remains a relevant piece of the Jefferson series and can help collectors complete a full run of dates and mint marks. Collectors who focus on circulated coins often include examples like the 1980 for P nickel in their albums, especially when aiming for full-year sets. Even though such coins are not valuable in monetary terms, they serve an important role in preserving the history and continuity of American coinage. For younger collectors or those just starting out, circulated coins like this one offer an affordable and educational way to study design changes and minting standards over time. There are no widely known or recognized major era varieties for the 1980 for P Jefferson nickel, though it is always possible to find individual coins with unique flaws, such as die chips, misaligned dies, or planchette issues. These errors, if verified and significant, can occasionally increase a coin's appeal to error coin enthusiasts. However, coins with only minor scratches or circulation were usually valued at or just above their face value. In conclusion, the 1980 for P Jefferson nickel in circulated condition with some scratches represents a standard coin from a high mintage year. While it lacks rarity or exceptional condition, it still contributes to the complete story of the Jefferson nickel series, which has remained one of the most stable and enduring designs in modern United States coinage. For collectors of circulated coins or anyone interested in assembling a date and mint mark collection, it remains a useful and familiar piece that reflects the coinage practices of the early 1980s. Next up we have 1981 D Lincoln 1-cent condition fine. This coin was minted at the Denver Mint, as shown by the small D mint mark located beneath the date on the front side of the coin. The 1981 Lincoln cent belongs to the Lincoln Memorial series, which ran from 1959 to 2008 and features the image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The obverse design was originally created by Victor David Brenner and has been a staple of American coinage since 1909. It shows Abraham Lincoln facing to the right with the words "In God We Trust" inscribed above his head, "Liberty" on the left side, and the year 1981 along with the D mint mark on the right. The reverse of the coin was designed by Frank Gasparo and features the Lincoln Memorial in detailed relief. In this design, the viewer can see the building's columns and, in some examples, even the small image of Lincoln's statue seated inside. Above the memorial are the words "United States of America" and the motto "E pluribus unum" is centered just above the memorial structure. Below the image, the denomination 1 cent is written in large, clear letters. This reverse honors Lincoln's enduring legacy and reflects his importance in American history. The composition of the 1981 D Lincoln cent is 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was the last full year before the United States Mint switched to copper-plated zinc coins in 1982 to reduce minting costs. The 1981 penny therefore represents one of the final years of the traditional copper-based cent. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams and measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter. This metal composition gives it a distinct weight and sound compared to the later copper-plated zinc versions. In fine condition, the 1981 D penny will show noticeable wear from circulation, but the major features of the design remain clear. On the obverse side, Lincoln's hair facial details and jawline will show signs of smoothing. However, the date and mint mark will remain easily readable, and the rim of the coin will still be mostly intact. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial will show wear, especially on the steps and inner details of the building. Some of the finer elements, like the inner statue or the tops of the columns, may be faint or missing due to wear. The inscriptions and denomination are still clear and visible in fine condition. The Denver Mint produced a large quantity of Lincoln cents in 1981, totaling over 5 billion coins. Because of this high mintage, the coin is very common and remains in wide circulation even today. Most circulated examples have little to no premium above face value and are primarily of interest to collectors who are assembling complete date and mint mark sets of Lincoln cents. However, certain factors can increase the value of a 1981 D penny, such as rare errors, unusual die varieties, or high-grade uncirculated examples. For example, a 1981 D Lincoln cent in mint state condition with full red color and no marks can be worth significantly more than face value. Coins graded MS66 red or higher may attract attention from serious collectors. In cases where the coin is among the finest known examples or has exceptional visual appeal, it may sell in the range of $500,000 to $700,000 in the elite auction market. These high values typically apply to coins that are professionally graded and certified by reputable services and are considered top population examples. There are also some minor varieties and die errors that collectors may look for when examining 1981 D Lincoln cents. These include repunched mint marks, die cracks, and off-center strikes. While most of these are minor and may not carry high value, they can still be interesting additions to a collection and sometimes command a premium depending on their visibility and rarity. Proper handling and storage of copper coins is essential to preserving their condition and long-term value. Even coins in fine condition should be kept in dry acid-free holders or albums and should be handled by the edges to avoid transferring oils or moisture from the skin onto the coin's surface. Cleaning coins is not recommended as it can permanently damage the coin and reduce its collector value. Natural toning and patina are often preferred by collectors over an artificially cleaned surface. In summary, the 1981 Lincoln 1-cent coin, in fine condition, is a well-circulated and historically significant piece of American currency. As one of the last years to feature the traditional copper composition, it holds a special place in the timeline of Lincoln cents. While it is very common and usually holds only face value in circulated grades, it can still be an important part of a complete collection and offers the potential for greater value. It exhibits rare errors or is found in exceptional condition. Collectors and coin enthusiasts alike continue to seek out these coins for their beauty, history, and the chance to discover something rare among the millions produced. Next up we have 1986 P Jefferson nickel coin condition circulated. This coin is a part of the long-standing Jefferson nickel series, which began in 1938 and has continued for decades with minimal changes to the main design. The 1986 P Jefferson nickel was struck at the Philadelphia Mint and is identified by the P Mint mark, which is found on the obverse side of the coin, just to the right of Jefferson's ponytail. At this point in the coin's production history, the design remained consistent with the original model created by artist Felix Schlag, who won the competition to design the coin in the late 1930s. On the obverse side of the 1986 Jefferson nickel is the left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. Above and to the left of his portrait is the national motto, "In God We Trust," and to the right near the rim of the coin is the word liberty followed by the year 1986. The P Mint mark is located directly beside the date. In circulated condition, the coin shows signs of handling over time, which may include worn areas on Jefferson's cheek, jaw, and hair. The flat surfaces may have lost their original luster, and there could be contact marks from other coins during circulation. The reverse of the coin features a detailed depiction of Monticello, which was Jefferson's home in Virginia. The image of Monticello includes the domed center and the symmetrical structure of the front columns, which remain key identifiers of the Jefferson nickel series. Above the building appears the Latin phrase E pluribus unum, and below the structure, the name Monticello followed by the denomination 5 cents and the inscription United States of America. On a circulated example from 1986, these details may appear softened, especially on the fine lines of the building steps and roofline. The fields around the design might be dulled, and some small marks could be present from coin-to-coin contact. The coin is composed of a copper-nickel alloy consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This alloy provides the silver-gray color and ensures the coin's durability during use. However, once the coin enters circulation, it gradually loses its brightness and can take on a darker tone or patchy surface from oils, dirt, and air exposure. In circulated condition, this 1986 nickel likely has a somewhat dull appearance, though the major design elements should remain visible and intact. In terms of mintage, the Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of these nickels in 1986. The total production from this mint was large, making the 1986 P nickel a common coin in most collections and among pocket change even today. Because of this high mintage and the coin's typical circulation, where the 1986 P Jefferson nickel does not carry a premium in average grades, its value in circulated condition is usually face value unless the coin features a striking error or is in unusually pristine condition for its age. Despite its commonality, the 1986 P Jefferson nickel plays an important role in the history of United States coinage. It is part of the broader story of how American coins remained stable during the mid to late 20th century without major changes in design or composition. While newer series eventually introduced redesigns and special editions, the Jefferson nickel held on to its traditional look throughout the 1980s. Collectors interested in building full-year sets of the Jefferson series will often include coins like the 1986 P even in circulated condition to complete their albums. For beginners or those with limited budgets, these coins offer a chance to study the design progression and minting practices without requiring expensive investments. Circulated examples are also useful in educational settings where they can demonstrate basic coin design and mint mark identification. There are no widely known or valuable error types for the 1986 P nickel, though occasional coins may feature minor issues such as weak strikes, off-center impressions, or die cracks. These must be individually verified and are not common. Most 1986 nickels seen in circulation are standard examples that have passed through years of use and remain collectible primarily for historical or nostalgic purposes rather than rarity or value. In summary, the 1986 P Jefferson nickel in circulated condition is a common yet enduring example of late 20th century American coinage. It reflects both the continuity and stability of the Jefferson design and the large-scale minting practices of the time. While it does not command high market prices in worn condition, it still offers historical insight and value to collectors who appreciate the evolution of the nickel denomination in the United States. Next up we have 1970 D Lincoln 1 cent coin condition circulated. This coin was produced at the Denver Mint, which is indicated by the small letter D placed just below the date on the obverse side. The 1970 Lincoln 1 cent is part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial Reverse Series, which spanned from 1959 to 2008. The obverse of the coin features the right-facing profile of President Abraham Lincoln, which was originally designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. This design has remained one of the most iconic in United States coinage history. Surrounding Lincoln's image are the inscriptions "In God We Trust" across the top, Liberty on the left, and the date 1970 with the D mint mark on the right. On the reverse side, the coin displays the Lincoln Memorial, which was designed by Frank Gasparo. This detailed design includes the columns and steps of the memorial, and in high-quality examples, one may even be able to see the small seated figure of Lincoln inside the structure. Above the building are the words United States of America, and just beneath that is the national motto E Pluribus Unum. At the bottom of the reverse side is the denomination written clearly as 1 cent. This reverse design pays tribute to the memory of Lincoln and his importance in American history. The 1970 D penny was struck in a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams and measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter. This copper-based composition was the standard for Lincoln cents prior to the change to copper-plated zinc in 1982. Because of its copper content, the coin may develop natural toning or patina over time, especially in circulated condition. This toning is not considered damage and may even be seen as desirable by some collectors, as it adds character and shows the coin's age. In circulated condition, the 1970 D Lincoln cent will display clear signs of wear. On the obverse, Lincoln's hair and facial features will appear smooth and less defined. There may be small nicks or scratches across the surface, and the luster will be completely gone. On the reverse side, the finer elements of the Lincoln Memorial, such as the steps and columns, may show flatness, and some of the detail may be worn away from repeated handling and use in commerce. Despite the wear, the major features, including the inscriptions and overall layout of the design, remain fully visible and intact. The Denver Mint produced a very large number of 1970 D Lincoln cents, with a mintage of over 2.5 billion coins. Because of this massive quantity, the coin is very common and is frequently found in circulated rolls and old change jars. In circulated condition, the coin typically holds only face value and is of interest mainly to beginning collectors or those assembling date and mint mark sets. However, there are exceptions to this general value, particularly when it comes to high-grade uncirculated coins or rare errors. For example, if a 1970 D Lincoln cent is discovered in a mint state grade with full red color and no contact marks, it could be worth a substantial amount to collectors. High-end examples graded MS67 red or better by professional grading companies can command very high prices at auction. In the rarest cases where the coin is virtually flawless and among the top examples known to exist, the value can reach between $500,000 and $700,000. These top-tier coins are highly sought after by elite collectors and investors who specialize in registry sets and finest known examples. There are also error coins known from this year and mint, which can bring higher values. These include off-center strikes, die cracks, double dies, and clipped plankets. While many of these errors are minor, some may be dramatic and valuable depending on the nature of the error and the overall condition of the coin. Collectors often seek out these unusual coins to add variety and uniqueness to their collections. 2. Preserve a circulated 1970 penny, and any potential value it might have. Collectors should store the coin properly. This includes using coin flips folders or holders that are acid-free and keeping the coin in a dry and stable environment. Even though circulated coins do not have the same value as uncirculated ones, protecting them from further damage is important. For historical and educational purposes, it is also strongly advised not to clean any coin regardless of its condition, as this can damage the surface and significantly reduce any numismatic value. In conclusion, the 1970 Lincoln 1-cent coin, in circulated condition, is a common example of American coinage from the early 70s. While it is widely available and usually worth only its face value in circulated state, it still holds interest for those who appreciate history and numismatics. The coin represents a period of American coin design that continues to fascinate collectors and provides opportunities to learn more about minting processes and coin varieties. Whether as part of a growing collection or as a piece of everyday history, the 1970 penny remains a small but meaningful artifact from the past. Next up we have 1988 P Jefferson nickel coin, condition fine. This coin belongs to the long-standing Jefferson nickel series, which began in 1938 and remained mostly unchanged in design until the early 2000s. The 1988 P nickel was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, as indicated by the small letter P placed to the right of Jefferson's portrait. This mint mark helps distinguish the coin from others made in Denver or San Francisco and shows the continued use of mint marks, which had returned to nickels in the late 1960s. On the obverse of this coin is a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States. This portrait was created by artist Felix Schlag and used for many decades without significant changes. In fine condition, the details of Jefferson's face are still visible but may be slightly worn down due to light circulation. The cheekbone, jaw, and hair may show some smoothing, but the overall structure of the portrait remains intact. The motto "In God We Trust" is inscribed along the upper left edge of the coin, while the word "Liberty" appears to the right of Jefferson's head, followed by the year 1988 and the mint mark P. The reverse side of the coin features an image of Monticello, Jefferson's historic estate located in Virginia. This building is one of the most recognizable elements on American coinage. In fine condition, many of the architectural details remain clear, including the dome, the columns, and most of the lettering. However, the steps and finer lines may be slightly worn from circulation. Above the dome of Monticello appears the Latin phrase "E pluribus unum." Below the building are the inscriptions "Monticello 5 cents" and "United States of America." These words are usually well preserved on coins in fine condition unless the coin has been subjected to additional handling or environmental wear. The 1988 P Jefferson nickel is composed of a standard copper-nickel alloy, which consists of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This composition has been consistent since 1946 and gives the coin its distinctive silver-gray appearance. In fine condition, the coin usually maintains some of its original luster, though this may be muted or dulled over time. The surface may have minor contact marks or scratches from light use, but no major damage. The rims of the coin are generally intact and the edges are clearly defined. The total mintage of the 1988 P Jefferson nickel was over 750 million coins. This massive production means that the coin is very common even today and is often found in pocket change coin, rolls, and basic collections. Because of its high mintage and age, it is not rare or highly valuable in fine condition. Coins like this are typically kept by collectors who are building full date and mint mark sets, or by those who simply enjoy preserving pieces of everyday history. Although most 1988 P nickels are standard in design and minting, there are occasional examples of minor errors. These may include off-center strikes, die cracks, or planchette flaws. In rare cases, such coins can carry additional value, but they must be authenticated by a professional grading service. In standard fine condition, with no errors, the 1988 P nickel is valued primarily at face value or slightly above to a collector looking to fill a gap in a set. Fine condition indicates that while the coin shows signs of wear from circulation, it still maintains much of its original detail and appeal. This level of condition is above average for coins that have been in use, but not high enough to attract significant premium in the numismatic market. Nevertheless, the 1988 P nickel remains a relevant and collectible piece due to its design consistency and connection to American history. For collectors of Jefferson nickels, the 1988 P coin represents a stable period in the series just before the changes that would come with the Westward Journey redesigns starting in 2004. These earlier coins are often grouped into complete albums and studied for variations in die quality and strike sharpness. Even though this coin may not be rare or expensive, it holds a place in the timeline of United States coinage and reflects the everyday commerce of the late 20th century. In conclusion, the 1988 P Jefferson nickel in fine condition is a common, yet historically significant coin. It's moderate where shows it has been used, but still preserved well enough to be part of any collection. With a design rooted in American history and a production figure in the hundreds of millions, this coin remains a familiar and lasting piece of United States coinage. Next up we have 1971 D Lincoln 1 cent coin, condition bad on the front side. This coin was minted at the Denver Mint, which is identified by the small letter D located just below the date on the front of the coin. The obverse design features the profile of President Abraham Lincoln facing right, a design originally created by Victor David Brenner in 1909 and carried forward through decades of United States coinage. Around the portrait are the inscriptions "In God We Trust" at the top, "Liberty" to the left, and the year 1971 with the D mint mark on the right side. On this particular coin, the front side is in bad condition, which means the details of Lincoln's face and hair may be heavily worn, scratched, or unclear due to age and circulation. The reverse of the coin continues the Lincoln Memorial design that began in 1959 and continued until 2008, designed by Frank Gasparo. The reverse shows a depiction of the Lincoln Memorial building in Washington, D.C. with clear architectural elements like steps, columns, and in well-preserved coins, even the statue of Lincoln inside the building. The words "United States of America" are curved across the top, and the national motto "E Pluribus Unum" is shown above the image of the memorial. Below the memorial, the denomination 1 cent is written clearly in a coin with where the fine details of the building may be flat and faint, and some letters may appear weak, but they are usually still identifiable. The coin is made of a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, which was standard for Lincoln cents before the transition to a copper-plated zinc alloy in 1982. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. Because of its copper content, the coin may have developed patina or natural darkening over the years, especially in areas that have seen a lot of contact or exposure to moisture. In a coin described as being in bad condition on the front side, it is likely that discoloration, pitting, or damage from environmental exposure may be visible across the obverse. The Denver Mint produced a large number of Lincoln cents in 1971, totaling over 2.8 billion coins. Due to this high mintage, the 1971 D penny is considered very common and is regularly found in old jars, rolls, and change collections. In heavily circulated or damaged condition, such as with this particular example, the coin usually holds only its face value. However, collectors who are building complete year and mint mark sets often include even the most worn examples as placeholders until higher quality versions are found. Even in bad condition, certain 1971D Lincoln cents can have interest to collectors if they feature unusual mint errors or varieties. Some known varieties for this year include coins struck off center die cracks, repunched mint marks, and examples struck on improper plankets. These errors can sometimes be valuable depending on how dramatic they are and whether the rest of the coin details can be confirmed. In rare cases, even a coin with surface damage or frontside weakness could carry higher value. It includes a strong and rare error type. Coins of this type that are in pristine, uncirculated condition especially, with a full red color and no marks can be worth significantly more. Certified coins graded MS67 red or higher are considered very rare and sought after by collectors who compete in registry sets or focus on finest known examples. A top-quality 1971D penny could be valued between $500,000 and $700,000 if it is in extraordinary condition and considered among the best surviving examples. However, such high values apply only to coins that are professionally graded and meet very strict quality standards. For circulated and worn coins, like this one, even though they do not command high values, they can still serve as a useful educational tool or part of a basic collection. They represent a period of American minting history and the long-running legacy of the Lincoln cent. Coins in poor condition can be stored in basic coin folders or to buy to holders to prevent further damage and to help preserve them for historical purposes. They should be kept dry and away from chemicals or cleaning products that could cause further harm. In summary, the 1971D Lincoln 1-cent coin in bad condition on the front side is a well-worn piece of American coinage with visible signs of use and environmental impact. Though it is common and not typically valuable in this state, it remains a small part of history that continues to be recognized for its connection to President Lincoln and its place in the long tradition of United States coin design. Whether saved as part of a larger collection or simply appreciated as a reminder of past decades, this coin holds meaning beyond its monetary values. Next up we have 1971 Jefferson nickel coin condition circulated. This coin is part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series that began in 1938 and continued for many decades with only subtle changes until the early 2000s. The 1971 Jefferson nickel represents the era of consistent coinage design and wide circulation. It was struck during a time when millions of these coins were minted each year, and they played a major role in everyday commerce. This particular coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which during this time did not include a mint mark on its nickels. Therefore, the absence of a mint mark on the obverse is standard for Philadelphia strikes from this year. The obverse of the coin features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson facing left. This design was created by artist Felix Schlag, whose design won the original competition for the nickel in the late 1930s. Jefferson's face on the coin is detailed with his hair pulled back and tied. In a circulated example from 1971, this portrait will usually show signs of wear with softer lines on the cheek, jaw, and collar. Above Jefferson's head is the motto "In God We Trust." To the right is the word liberty followed by the date 1971. In circulated condition, the fields surrounding the portrait may appear dull, and there could be contact marks from years of handling. The reverse of the coin features Jefferson's famous home Monticello. The building is centered on the coin, with its rounded dome and symmetrical columns clearly defined in uncirculated pieces, but likely worn down in circulated examples like this one. Above the dome is the Latin motto E pluribus unum, and beneath the building are the words Monticello 5 cents and United States of America. On circulated coins, the steps of Monticello are often the first area to lose detail and become flat from wear. The surfaces may also appear discolored or darkened with age. The composition of the 1971 Jefferson nickel is 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving the coin its traditional silver-gray appearance. In circulated condition, the coin may show areas of dark toning or patchy discoloration from oils, dirt, or environmental exposure. Coins from this era were durable, but after years of use in circulation they often lose their original luster and become worn with smoother surfaces. The mintage of the 1971 Jefferson nickel from the Philadelphia Mint was over 238 million coins. This high production makes it a common coin even today in both circulated and uncirculated grades. Because of the large number produced and its age, the 1971 nickel is typically not considered rare or especially valuable unless it appears in exceptionally high condition or contains a unique error. For collectors, the 1971 Jefferson nickel is often included in complete year sets and serves as an important representative of the early 1970s era. While circulated examples have little monetary premium, they do provide historical and educational value, especially when studying how designs were over time and how minting technology evolved during the 20th century. In circulated condition, a 1971 Jefferson nickel generally has no value beyond its face value unless it is part of a collection or has an unusual feature. There are a few known minor errors from this year, such as off-center strikes or die breaks, but they are not common and must be authenticated to carry any additional worth. Most collectors and dealers would consider a circulated 1971 nickel to be a basic collectible with sentimental or illustrative value rather than investment value. Coins like the 1971 Jefferson nickel tell a broader story about the stability of American coinage during the mid to late 20th century. They show how millions of everyday objects moved through countless hands and played a small but constant role in the economy. Even though this coin may not appear special at first glance, it is a reminder of consistent design history and the enduring use of traditional portraiture in United States coinage. In summary, the 1971 Jefferson nickel in circulated condition is a common and heavily produced coin that holds its place in numismatic history due to its design and its role in regular commerce. Though it does not command high prices in the collector market, it continues to serve as a practical and collectible piece from a significant time in American minting history. Next up we have 1980 D Lincoln 1 cent condition, bad and red shade. This coin was minted at the Denver Mint, which is shown by the small letter D located just below the date on the obverse side. Like other Lincoln cents of its era, the 1980 D penny features the familiar right-facing portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front. This design, created by Victor David Brenner in 1909, is one of the most recognized in American coinage. Around Lincoln's image are the words "In God We Trust" across the top, Liberty to the left, and the year 1980 along with the D mint mark to the right side of the portrait. On this particular coin, the obverse is in bad condition with wear and signs of circulation, yet it still shows a red shade, which suggests it retains some of its original mint color, especially on areas that have not been exposed heavily. The reverse of the coin carries the Lincoln Memorial design, which was created by Frank Gasparo and introduced in 1959. This image shows the structure with steps and tall columns, and in higher condition coins, you can see the tiny seated figure of Lincoln inside. Above the memorial are the words "United States of America," and directly underneath that is the national motto "E pluribus unum." The words 1 cent appear at the bottom. In coins with where the reverse often shows, smoothing on the steps and details of the columns may fade, but in this coin, even with its bad condition, some traces of its original red shade may remain around the protected parts of the design, such as within the letters or near the edges. The 1980 D Lincoln cent was struck in a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. It weighs about 3.11 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. This was before the major change in 1982, when the United States Mint shifted to a copper-plated zinc alloy to reduce costs. The copper in the 1980D coin gives it a richer color, tone, and often leads to a red or brown appearance over time. In this example, the coin still shows a red shade, which is usually a sign of lesser exposure to air and humidity, even if the coin has some damage or has been in circulation. Over 5.1 billion Lincoln cents were produced with the D mint mark in 1980, making this coin very common in both circulated and uncirculated conditions. Because of the high mintage, most examples of this coin, especially in circulated or damaged condition, have little numismatic value beyond their historical interest. However, red shade coins, especially those with their original luster and minimal wear, can attract collector attention, particularly if they have no scratches or marks. In bad condition, though, even with red shade, the coin would typically be valued at or near face value unless it has unique attributes. One exception to the standard valuation could be if this coin displays a mint error. Error coins such as off-center strikes, double die breaks, or wrong planchette strikes can increase a coin's value considerably depending on the visibility and rarity of the error. Collectors often pay extra attention to 1980D cents looking for such variations, since the large mintage makes it possible for errors to slip through unnoticed during production. Even a coin with surface where may be considered collectible if the error is clear and well-defined. In the highest grades, the 1980D Lincoln cent with full red color and perfect surfaces can bring high prices at auction, especially when certified by major grading services. A coin in mint state 68 red with no visible flaws would be among the best surviving examples and could be worth between $500,000 and $700,000 to high-end collectors focused on top population coins. These coins are rare and represent only a small fraction of all those minted in that year at that location. For the average coin like this one in bad condition with red shade, it is best to store it carefully to prevent further deterioration. A soft non-acidic holder or album will help protect the coin and reduce exposure to moisture or air that could change its color or cause corrosion. It is important never to clean a coin, especially one made of copper, since cleaning can destroy the surface and greatly reduce its value even if it is already worn. In conclusion, the 1980D Lincoln 1-cent coin in bad condition with red shade is a common yet historical example of United States coinage from the late 20th century. Its worn state shows it has circulated and served its role in everyday transactions, yet the red shade hints at its original appearance when it left the mint. While it is not considered valuable in its current condition unless it includes a significant error, it remains a meaningful piece for collectors who appreciate the history and design of Lincoln cents. Whether part of a beginner's collection or simply preserved as a reminder of the past, this coin still holds a place in the long story of American currency. Next up, we have 2000 to P Jefferson nickel coin, condition some rust. This coin is part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series, which began in 1938 and continued through several decades of American coinage. The 2002 version belongs to the final years of the original Felix Schlag design before the redesigns that began in 2004. The P Mint mark indicates that this nickel was produced at the Philadelphia Mint and appears just to the right of Jefferson's ponytail on the obverse side of the coin. The obverse of the 2000 to Jefferson nickel features the familiar left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States. Above Jefferson's head is the national motto, "In God We Trust," while the word liberty is placed to the right of his face, followed by the year 2002. The P Mint mark is also found next to the date. In this specific example, the coin shows signs of rust, which suggests it has been exposed to moisture or environmental conditions that caused corrosion. This rust may appear as reddish-brown spots or patches, mostly affecting the coin's fields or possibly spreading across Jefferson's face and hair, which softens the finer details. On the reverse side, the coin displays a classic view of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate. The building is shown from the front, with the distinctive domed roof and symmetrical columns clearly visible in most cases unless corrosion has obscured parts of the design. Above Monticello is the Latin phrase "e pluribus unum," Well below it reads Monticello, followed by the denomination 5 cents and the phrase United States of America. In a rust-affected coin, the reverse design may be worn or discolored, and some of the lettering might appear faint if the surface corrosion is heavy. However, if the coin is only lightly affected by rust, many of the design details can still be seen. This coin is made of a copper-nickel alloy with a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. The presence of rust is more common in coins exposed to damp or humid conditions, as copper in particular can corrode when not properly stored. In circulated or environmentally damaged coins like this one, the surface may become rough to the touch and the natural shine will be dulled or entirely lost. Rust can also create pitting or small holes on the surface depending on its severity. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels in 2000, to making this coin extremely common in both circulated and uncirculated conditions. Because of its high mintage and widespread availability, a 2000 to P nickel with rust or environmental damage does not hold collector premium and typically retains only its face value. However, it still serves as a representative of the final full year before major design changes took place in the nickel series starting in 2004. For collectors of Jefferson nickels, the 2000 to P coin is often included as part of a complete year-end mint mark set. While most collectors prefer coins in better condition, this specific example with rust may be kept for reference or for educational purposes, showing how environmental conditions can affect coin preservation. Rust also serves as a visual example of why proper coin storage, such as dry climate control and safe holders, is important to maintain long-term value and appearance. There are no major error varieties associated with the 2000 to P Jefferson nickel that are widely recognized or valuable. However, minor die cracks, off-center strikes, or planchet flaws can occur in individual examples and must be evaluated carefully. In this case, rust is a form of post-mint environmental damage and does not increase the coin's value in any typical market setting. In fact, corrosion often reduces a coin's marketability unless it has another redeeming feature, such as a rare mint error. In summary, the 2000 to P Jefferson nickel with rust is a circulated coin that reflects wear and environmental exposure rather than rarity or high numismatic value. It stands as a common coin from a modern era and may still be used in circulation or held in a casual collection. While not a coin of financial significance, it remains a piece of the Jefferson series that spanned more than 6 decades of American coinage and represents the final chapter before the series began its transition into modern redesigns and commemorative issues.